Welcome back to our channels, Warriors. We are still growing. If you haven't had your comadre smash that subscribe button, go ahead and have her smash it right now. First and foremost, let me give a shout out to the United Kingdom, the UK, and Mr. Cookie Macias. Good looking out yesterday. Now, the newest patrons. Janice, Ruben, Juan, Otis640, Crescent, Carlos, Albert, Claudia, Isaac, Miguel, Let Our Actions, Big Bad 48, Nova, Jack, Linda, Michigan Wolverines, Marius, Chevelle, Abuelita's Journey, and Douse Herrero. If you haven't signed up for that Patreon, there's 52 members and growing. Sign up at that link below. This episode right here is gonna be: can correctional officers turn into monsters? Wow. What do you mean, Hector? What do you mean? It's a pretty heavy statement. Let me read you a quote. Whoever fights monsters should see to it that in the process he does not become a monster. And if you gaze long enough into the abyss will gaze back into you. What does that mean, Hector? You have any experience with that? You understand where that's coming from? Absolutely, 100%. 100%. Not only from my time in the military, but my time with the California Department of Corrections for 16 years as an officer, sergeant, and lieutenant. You hear about excessive use of force incidents, unnecessary use of force incidents, where people are using force when they should not be, or using more force than necessary, right? To overcome resistance, effect custody, subdue an attacker, and gain compliance with a lawful order. They get in trouble. They get fired, right? It comes out in the wash. It comes out with cameras, people telling, allegations, reports not matching up. Everything comes out, right? If you work, and this can go for anybody, but like, let's say violent prisons, right? Salinas Valley State Prison has that reputation. High Desert has that reputation. Calipatria has that reputation of violence, right? And I'm talking about brutal stabbings on the right? On the regular. No matter that times have changed, the violence is still ongoing, right? So a correctional officer that means well, right? That means well, okay? I'll use myself as an example, right? I'll use myself as an example, right? I'm not going to use anybody else as an example. That'd be ridiculous. That means well, right? Comes from a good place. Doesn't want to hurt people, right? So to say. But every day you're exposed to violence, right? And this is reflecting back. Not now, man. I'm like a monk right now. Not even Sacramento can get through my force field, right? My chakra is on point. My chakra is on point, right? But I'm talking about being young, being in the mix, being exposed to the brutalities, right? One man stabbing another man to death, two individuals stabbing another, but you're just seeing the bloody carnage, right? You're seeing the blood, guts, and glory. Well, there's no glory, let me tell you that much. You're hearing the sounds, you're seeing the blood, you're hearing, like, the alarms, right? Everything is now the abyss, right? And you're constantly doing that day in, day out, day in, day out. It does something to you. It absolutely 100% does something to you, unless you're like cold, stone-faced, like without emotions, right? You walk into an environment like prison day in, day out, exposed to murders, riots, rapes, all of the above, right? gassing, staff assaults, batteries on peace officers. And I haven't even gotten into the batteries on peace officers quite yet in this episode. When acts of violence kick off in a prison, right? And this is not to make excuses. This is simply to be informative, right? Of how circumstances can change an individual, for sure, 100%. You're trained, right? As a correction officer, you're trained to respond to the violence and quell it. So you and yourself are using force, right? You get issued a baton, expandable baton. You're physically beating somebody, right? Like a piñata, literally like a piñata, right? Not to make light of the situation, but you're breaking bones. For sure you're breaking bones, right? And you're doing it at the greater cause of preventing this inmate from stabbing this inmate to death, right? But still, nonetheless, you're inflicting violence on somebody. Don't get it twisted. Pepper spraying, right? You're taking a hot chemical agent, oleoresin capsicum, I didn't forget, right? Use it on your reports. And you're burning somebody's eyeballs right out of their head, right? To stop something. 40 millimeter launchers, wooden baton rounds, foam exact impact rounds, mini 14s, lethal 223 rounds. Like, this is a person who means well, meant well, and is on a daily, some institutions daily, some yards daily are inflicting violence, right? It says it right there. If you gaze long enough into the abyss will gaze back into you. Now it's staring back at you. Now who have you become, right? And I'm talking about, yeah, you're doing your job. That is not what you're doing, your job 100%, right? But the mindset that goes behind it. Like, am I turning? Right? Am I turning? Then the staff assaults happen. Right? Well, they've already probably been happening. They go hand in hand, right? Now you're using everything that has ever been built up, pent up, to quell that incident, if that makes sense. Everything in me, right? Everything in me to stop that individual, right? To hurt that individual. Let's keep it real. Hector, you're beating around the bush, Hector. You need to get it out there. You've never held back. Yeah, to hurt that individual. By all means necessary, right? And I've been exposed to staff assaults. I've responded to staff assaults. Now that's when things get scary. Because all these years of exposure, of inflicting violence, now you're presented with an opportunity. That kind of sounded wrong, right? Presented with an opportunity? Like, that even saying that. An opportunity has presented yourself to unleash that. Unleash what has been built up, right? Damn, he said it. He fucking said it. I said it. There it is. That is what I'm talking about, the monster, right? Does a person like me like it? It is, what do you call? Like, you could probably even hear it in my breath right now. Like, you have everything built inside of you, right? And then you see your partner getting hurt, attacked, and then you're just letting it all out, right? That is not cool. That is scary. That is sketchy, right? And probably prolonged years of that, 10, 15, 20, 25 years of that will probably, my God, man, dog gets in your way, you just punch. I used to make jokes, man. People, my subordinates, my partners would see me stressed out at work, right? Or they'll say like, hey, you got any advice, Lieutenant? Or this, I say, yeah, man, get a dog. Oh, really? Yeah. So yeah, so when they piss you off, you just kick that motherfucker right across the room, right? It was a joke. Never did it, right? I have 2 dogs, right? Not the manliest, but they're nevertheless they're very, very, how do you say, uh, man, loyal, extremely loyal, right? That's what I meant, right? It took me a second to find my words, right? But it's just be cautious in anything that you do, right? Especially working around violence, living amongst violence. This can even go out to the streets, right? You're in the abyss. You're inflicting violence for the sake of just now we're all in it, right? Keep that in mind. That is the message for the day. The message for the day is what you put out to this world is what you're going to get back, man. That's it, straight up. Keep pushing forward.